When was the last time you walked out of a networking event and you thought that conversation could truly change everything? Or have you been hiding behind your computer or your phone and pushed in person networking to the side? We live in a world that is more connected than ever. In fact, I often say we are hyper connected. There are so many electronic ways that we can communicate with people, whether it be Slack or Teams messages or direct messages on a number of platforms, email, text, phone. We are more connected as a society than we have ever been. But connection cannot always be electronic. We have to make room in our lives to have that human connection. Networking in a hyper connected world is noisier than ever. Attention is scarce. It's so hard to grab someone's attention, and trust is harder to earn than ever. That's why in-person networking is still such an important component of building relationships for your career or for your business. These in-person events matter because relationships deepen faster, people remember you more, and relationships tend to move further faster simply because of that human connection. Some say that connection is the new currency in business. And when you're in person, you get the whole package. You understand someone's tone, someone's body language, and all of these things help someone build trust faster and help people remember you more because they can put a face with a name and they can truly remember what you do when you have that in-person conversation. I was trying to elevate my brand and my business last year. In 2024, I was trying to elevate my brand and make my business more well-known in San Antonio. So I purchased a trade show booth at the Manufacturing Association Conference of South Texas because I have a manufacturing client as a human resources consultant and I love working with them. And I was like, you know what? If I set up a booth here, I might get more clients similar to the one that I already love. And so that was a great experience for me. I met a man named Chris and he worked in the distribution field, not necessarily manufacturing something, but distributing a part to manufacturers. And he and I struck up a conversation in May of 2024. After that, we connected on LinkedIn, exchanged a few emails, but didn't start working together right away. So that was in May of 2024. In January of 2025, out of the blue, I get an email from Chris and he says, "Hey, I'm on a committee helping to attract speakers to the Fastener Convention here in South Texas. And I thought you might be a great speaker. Would you be interested in applying?" And I said, of course I would. I love to speak. I am a paid speaker. And I was so flattered that he remembered me from 7 months before that. So I did get the speaking gig. I spoke at their conference. It was great. And Chris happened to bring his boss to that conference as well. So I had already known Chris, but I had never met his boss. Well, after that, pretty much within a week, maybe a few days after that convention, I'm talking to Chris and his supervisor, and we're getting together to do an HR audit for their organization. Then we signed a contract to work together on a regular basis, and I've already helped their business elevate the people side of their business and train their team. So within 1 year of just me setting up a booth at a convention trade show so that I could make people aware of my business and what I do, I not only got a speaking gig, but I also got a client who I love working with and who I believe and they believe is just the beginning of this great relationship. So had I not taken the time to set up a booth so that people could know what I do, I would have missed out on those great opportunities. So what this taught me is that you can't replicate those chance in-person relationships that can truly lead to something that helps you in your career, whether that be a job or more business, because those in-person meetings really make you memorable. When you're clear about what you want to be known for, and in my case, that was human resources consulting and speaking, people connect the dots and they remember you and mention your name in a room where you're not even there. This happened again for me recently at an event for an organization that I'm part of. It's an in-person event for the National Association for Women's Business Owners. And through my introduction there, a woman found out that I also help college students land their first job after college. And so this woman, Tiffany, said, okay, I have a daughter who's graduating from college very soon, and she needs your help. She's not sure what to do after college. And so just me giving my introduction there helped me to get a client from the career perspective. So I just can't stress enough how important it is that you're clear on what you want to do and how you want to help people, because people mentally file that information away for when they need it in the future. So a big tip that I can give you here is to practice your introduction for in-person events. You don't have to tell them everything about you and everything about your career, everything about your business. Practice tailoring your introduction so that it resonates with the people in the room that you are in. So prior to even going to the event, make sure that you have practiced your introduction, that quickly you can say who you are and what you do best so that they can remember it. So for me, I often say things like, I help professionals who feel invisible in their careers learn how to network confidently so that they can be known for what they do best and open the right doors. This could be career professionals, this could be business professionals, and I tailor that based on the audience that I'm interacting with at that in-person event. So the title of this episode is The Case for In-Person Events. The first part of this series was the case for networking, and I really wanted you to understand how important networking is in today's world. The second part of this three-part series was the case for LinkedIn, and I could have also called it the case for virtual networking, because I do believe that virtual networking and LinkedIn are imperative to your career success. And they're so important because we don't just rely on in-person events anymore. However, this part 3 is the case for in-person events, because it is so important that you know that you have to do both virtual networking and in-person networking. So let's talk about how you determine which in-person events are worth your time and energy. First and foremost, I am a firm believer that before you ever register to go for an event, you need to do some research. You need to determine who is going to be there. Is this worth your time? Because just going to many different events without a strategy and without a plan can backfire on you. You can leave demotivated because you didn't meet the right people. And so I can't stress enough that you're not going with like a number of connections in mind. It's not like you're going to pitch to a certain number of people, but you do want to have a handful of conversations with the right people who could help you get a job or help you advance your business or your career. So I like to say there's a few reasons people go to networking events. Sometimes they go purely to get out of their office to be with friends, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And then the other reason is because they go because they want to spread the message about what they do and what they're known for. You've got to decide based on your own time management and calendar management which ones are meeting the need for you. So, like I said, it could be purely relational, and it could be that you really want to elevate your personal brand and meet more people. So, first and foremost, decide which one meets your needs and research who might be the people there that when you walk into the room, you want to have a conversation with. And again, it's not because you're collecting business cards or you're pitching. It's because you're starting those foundational conversations to build a relationship over time. So I can tell you honestly, I have made some mistakes in this area. I mentioned that I set up a booth at a trade show here and that it got me great business and it worked. But I also set up a booth at a trade show that didn't work. It looked great on paper. It looked like the kind of people that I really wanted to be in front of to educate on what I do. But honestly, it was a waste of time and money. I actually had to fly my sister in to watch my kids. She came from Chicago to San Antonio. My husband and I went together because I was scared to go to this huge trade show by myself. I even gave him like logo gear from my company and everything so he could help me. And then after the 3-day event, I really left feeling that that was not the best use of my time and money. So it sounds like that might be a waste, but honestly, it helped me realize that I needed to close the door on that idea. And I don't really think of failure as anything more than a learning experience. So that was a part of an organization I was in, and I realized I didn't need to be part of that organization and I didn't need to go to that event because it wasn't going to meet my business needs. And so I think it is important to know that not every in-person event is going to work. But how do you decide? First, you want to see, is your ideal client there? Or is there partners or referrers there? I might go to things where my ideal client might not be there, but people who know my ideal client are there. So for an example, I went to a networking event this morning and I met a lady who is a business attorney, and she is from a small law firm. She doesn't need HR consulting, but when she found out that I was an HR consultant, she said, "Oh, can I take your card? I often work with businesses who really could use an HR consultant." And so again, my company wasn't there, like my ideal company wasn't there, but someone who knows my ideal client was there. So it really was a good use of my time. Next, I want you to think about, does the organization's focus align with your goals? Visibility, partnerships, client acquisition, or even just learning. Sometimes I go to events because they have a great speaker and I need to learn something about that side of the business. So just think about why you're going before you go, because otherwise you're going to get disappointed because you'll go to events and leave and go, I'm not sure that was really good use of my time. So research the event, research the attendees, and really think about the event before you commit. Next, I want to tell you about how to prepare. So I mentioned that I gave a quick line about what I do, and you want to do this too. You want to prepare, sometimes in front of a mirror, sometimes in your car, wherever you want, so that you've had a chance to practice your introduction. But in addition, some other ways you can prepare is make sure your LinkedIn profile is up to date, because you can quickly connect with someone on LinkedIn at an in-person event. You also want to make sure you have business cards, or if you're going as a job seeker, that you have resumes with you. It's completely fine to bring your resume because you just never know who you're going to meet. And also make sure you have a notepad and paper in your bag so that you could write down somebody's information if maybe they didn't bring a business card. But most importantly, when you prepare for an event, make sure you have your known for statement ready to say so that when you introduce yourself, you feel confident about leaving that one piece of information that might help someone remember you. All right, so now we're at the event. And at the event, I want you to think about something that may sound a little surprising to you. So many times people think about networking and they say you have to be the most interesting person in the room. And I want to flip that for you. I want you to be the most interested person in the room. A lot of times people say, gosh, Mindy, I don't want to go to in-person networking events because I'm an introvert and I really don't want to do that. I don't feel comfortable. But when you think about it as not being interesting, not that there's a spotlight on you, but actually being interested in the person that you're talking to, then it takes the pressure off of you. You're just getting to know someone. You're not trying to get a sale. You're not trying to get a client right then. You're just trying to begin a relationship with someone. And the best way to do that is to be curious and engaged and ask questions to the people that you're talking to. So make sure you don't think of it as a spotlight on you. Think of it as you being a lighthouse, that you're guiding someone else to the service that you provide, or you're guiding them to know the value you bring to their organization so that they want to get to know you better. At these events, it's really important to make sure that you're not scanning the room for the next conversation, that you're focused on a few people that you want to get to know. It's not a numbers game. It's not a game to see who can collect the most business cards. You're going for genuine conversation, and that will help you be known and liked as well. Because when people feel that you truly are engaged in learning what they do, they're going to be more likely to turn around and ask you what you do. And that's the time you can genuinely share who you are and what you do. So many times people will tell me that they're an introvert and they don't like to work the room at a networking event. To be honest, your networking style should feel genuine to you. It shouldn't be that you have to act like someone you're not. So if you are introverted, then just show up as yourself and ask genuine questions to people, because that is going to help you feel like you don't have to be something that you're not. The last thing I want people to think of when they think of networking is to being on the showcase or actually in the spotlight. It's not like that. Networking is all about building relationships. Okay, so the event is over. You might have collected some business cards. You might have connected with some people on LinkedIn. I hope so, because relationships take time. You can't cram a relationship. So what do you do to follow up? I love it when I can connect with people on LinkedIn at a networking event. And that way, afterwards, I can just send them a quick DM from my phone or from my laptop saying it was really nice to meet you today. And I set a goal for myself after each networking event to schedule 1 or 2 follow-up conversations. And I highly recommend this to you because, again, it's about building relationships. And so it keeps you top of mind with someone. So what do I mean by a follow-up conversation? It's really quite simple. I use Calendly, so I have a 30-minute coffee chat set up as a link that I can send anybody at any point in time. So what I do is I just send a quick DM and it says something like, Andrew, I enjoyed meeting you at the luncheon. It's hard to have real conversation in big group settings like that, so I would just love to have a virtual coffee. If you'd be interested, go ahead and use this link and set up a time that we can each bring our own cup of coffee and chat for 30 minutes. I would love to get to know you better, right? So it doesn't have to be salesy. Basically, I just say the truth, which is it's hard to have a real conversation with 100 people in the room, and I want to get to know your business better. So I do that. I send them my link. I've honestly never had someone not follow up on it, because people like to have a chance to talk about themselves and get to know someone better. And so someone will use the link, book 30 minutes on my calendar. And when I go to that call, I do not pitch. I'm still using this as relationship building. I'm not asking them for anything. In fact, I'm continuing to be interested in who this person is and what they do, because that is how you build community. That's how you get relationships. And so that the next time you see that person, you have more of a connection because you've actually spent 30 minutes one-on-one with them. This works very, very well because, like I said, you want to be the most interested person. And then after you've let them talk about themselves, they then ask you questions and you can talk about yourself and your business or your career. Now, again, I never make an ask, because if they know who I am and what I do, when they're ready, they will come back to me. And I get 93% of my business from networking, from word of mouth. And so it's not something I have to work for as far as the ask. It just happens because of the relationship and people remembering me. So I will tell you, the follow-up is key. Many people say something like, actually the quote is, "The fortune is in the follow-up." And I do believe that. I do believe that if you just go to an event, exchange business cards, and don't see the person for a long time, they might not remember you as well. But if you do the follow-up and people remember you, then they are way more likely to mention your name in a room when someone's looking for what you do. And even if you don't want to schedule a coffee chat with someone, you could just follow up with an email or a DM just to say that you really enjoyed meeting them. These little personal touches really help over time. And the next time you see that person, they're going to be way more likely to remember you. So we've talked about in-person events and why they're so important. We've talked about how you decide which in-person events you go to, how to prepare, how to show up, and how to follow up. These are all critical steps in making sure that these events are the best use of your time and that they are planting seeds for relationships that you can build over time. I want you to choose an in-person event that you're going to go to in the next 30 days. Research what's happening in your community and see which one would be the best use of your time. I mean this not just for business people, but also for job seekers, because it's such a great way to actually get noticed. Applying online is not the best way to find a job. In fact, only 4% of job seekers get their job through applying online, and 85% of job seekers will get a job because of networking. So this challenge is not just to business people, this challenge is to job seekers too. Within the next 30 days, I want you to pick one event and to use the advice that you got in this podcast so that you can build your own network too. I want you to remember that opportunities do not always go to the people who are most qualified. They go to people who are the most known. So get yourself out there, make sure you are known, and the opportunities will come your way. I'd like to thank you for joining this episode of the People Success Circle podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a 5-star review or share it with a friend or colleague who could use the advice in this episode. Remember that networking is the number one way to grow your business and your career. If you would like to join the waitlist for Networking School, my new membership that's launching this month, please see the waitlist in the show notes. Once you click on waitlist in the show notes, you can sign up to be notified when the membership launches, and you can get the founding membership rate. I appreciate you listening today, and I can't wait to hear about your networking stories. Make sure you leave a comment below, and I'll see you next week.